All right, I know. I missed already. I'm already being inconsistent with football. After that Detroit game, I did not want to make a video and just say things I didn't really mean or just talk out of emotion and anger. And then week 3, honestly, I had the Bears losing, I think like 34 to like 21 or something like that. I had us getting blown out, especially after what we saw in week 2. But obviously we won. Didn't end up making a video on that. Just pretty busy and everything. But I want to come back in this week, make a little bit of a comeback, and make a video for week 4 against the Las Vegas Raiders. This is being played at Las Vegas in Allegiant Stadium, their new stadium. And talking about the Las Vegas Raiders here, and I'll start on their defense real quick. They're a sneaky good defense. Nothing amazing. Obviously, their pass defense is not great. They don't really have anybody at corner, to be honest. They have a decent run defense. I know the numbers don't really show, but aside from the 60-yard rush that they allowed last week against the Commanders to, I think it was Chris Rodriguez or something like that, they've honestly held teams to a pretty, subpar rushing day, and they haven't really gone up against like crazy good running backs. But at the end of the day, they're doing their job on the ground, and you got guys like Tyree Wilson and Max Crosby, who I'll get into Max Crosby in a bit. But the Raiders defense, not too great. Now the Raiders offense, is weird. Because Geno Smith, he's not a terrible quarterback, but he hasn't been playing as good as he was back in Seattle. And he has Pete Carroll head coach, so I thought there'd be some continuity, or at least some sort of consistency with, even if he's going on to a new team. I thought that he would, do just fine. And so far through 3 weeks, he's been below average, honestly. Now, they do have weapons. Obviously, they have arguably the best tight end in the game right now in Brock Bowers. And then on top of that, they have guys like Ashton Genty and Jakobi Meyers, Trey Tucker, who's got 4 touchdowns already in the season. They got rising rookie Dante Thornton, who's a 6'6" speed demon. That's crazy to say at 6'6", but he's really good. But the thing that really is hindering this Raiders offense, and will probably hinder their offense the entire season, as we've seen with the Bears last year, is their offensive line. They have a terrible offensive line, at least when it comes to run blocking. Now, I know Geno Smith's getting sacked a lot, but at least the Bears last year were somewhat decent on the ground, I guess. Like, DeAndre Swift wasn't like rushing for like 600 yards. He almost had 1,000 actually last year. But an interesting stat. Now, I don't like to bring up stats in week 3. I usually wait till like week 4, week 5 to start bringing up season stats because you can have a bigger sample size. But this one stuck out to me. I'll share with you guys too in the total of today's video, but I want to share this one concerning Ashton Genty. Ashton Genty this season has, I believe, 146 rushing yards after contact, meaning that as soon they're counting the yards after he gets touched, whether it's, in the backfield or whatever. He has 146 rushing yards after contact. He has 145 total rushing yards. He has more yards after contact than he has rushing yards in actuality. That is insane. And I knew it too. I absolutely knew it. And I hate that the Raiders drafted Ashton Genty because I wanted the Bears to be able to pick him up. And I think if he would have slipped past the Raiders, maybe he would have landed to Chicago, whether it was a trade up or him just falling to pick number 10. But the Raiders went ahead and freaking selected a guy that, was going to have to do basically everything himself in the backfield. I mean, it's impressive really that he even has 145 rushing yards through week 3 with that offensive line. Seriously, like, they have no offensive line. And they went ahead and drafted a running back that kind of needs an offensive line, the one position that needs an offensive line for sure to succeed. I don't get it. I don't get why they did that to themselves, but it's the Oakland Raiders, the Vegas Raiders. Don't expect anything smart out of them. But, yeah, man, we should be able to take advantage of this. This is kind of like the opposite of a immovable object meeting an unstoppable force. This is literally like the Bears defensive line meeting the Raiders offensive line. It's like a movable object meeting a very stoppable force. It's comedy gold right here, man. I don't know who's going to win the matchup here. I'd imagine the Bears could somewhat take advantage of this because we do have some guys like Javon Dexter and Montez Sweat and Dale who can maybe get after Ashton Genty, but he could very well have his breakout game here, guys. I mean, I'm really scared because Genty was an amazing running back at Boise State. Obviously, everyone wanted him. That was a Bears fan. Pretty much 99% of Bears fans wanted him. And the Raiders went ahead and crushed that dream. Also, they can waste his talent away. I digress. Genty could still have his breakout game against the Chicago Bears, and it would be due to our pretty atrocious defensive line. Now, I will say another stat that I'm going to bring up about the Bears defense, so we're going to go ahead and transition into that real quick. The Bears defense, like I said, I don't really like to share stats too often. But the one thing that does stick out to me on my other screen here is our third down defense. Now, I don't know how many of you guys remember, but during the Matt Eberflus era, third down defense was terrible. It could be 3rd and 15, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 25. And for some reason, opposing teams would find a way to either check down or throw open to a guy wide open over the middle and convert that third down into a first down. And it was so painful to watch every time, knowing that 3rd and 10 really felt like 3rd and 1 or 3rd and inches. Like, literally, it felt like it was that easy for teams to get third down, first down conversions on third down against us. But this year, we are second best in the league, only behind the Commanders. We give up a first down on only 30.3% of first downs, or of third down situations that we have been in this year. I mean, obviously, like I said, it's still a really small sample size, but what I love to see is we can already see instant improvement with that stat, man, because it was just so incredibly painful watching every single time on third down, whether it was because we couldn't cover it over the middle, whether it was a bad scheme, or we couldn't get to the quarterback because our defensive line was trash, whatever the case may be, third down defense was just atrocious, man. So I'm glad that, works out in our favor for us. But the Bears defense, like we know, unfortunately past that, is not good. Whether against the pass, against the run. Now, we did play good last week, but I'm not sure the Bears are going to consistently keep that same energy throughout the entire season, especially when you're missing guys like Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon all that season, time. But I'll get into the injury report real quick after this. But honestly, man, our defense is kind of lacking in talent, which is weird because I thought there'd be a bigger step up in guys that, like a Tyreek Stevenson, who did good last game. I'll give him that. But first 2 weeks were terrible. I just hope that we're able to just step up this game, man. We need to win this game to go 2-2 and sort of reset our season, because going 0-2 really hurt us, and we should honestly be 2-1. We really gave up that lead in the fourth quarter to J.J. McCarthy of all quarterbacks, in game 1. So going into the Bears offense now, which is crazy. Like I said, I don't like to bring up stats, but Caleb Williams is in fact second in the league, tied for second in passing touchdowns, and I believe he's 11th overall in passing yards. Currently, he is on pace for just over 4,000 yards and 39 passing touchdowns, which would be absolutely amazing. I mean, with those numbers, you're probably making the playoffs, so unbelievable, man. I would love for that to happen. Most likely not 39 passing touchdowns, but I could imagine there being like 25 to 28 passing touchdowns when it's all said and done, and then maybe like 39 to 4,100 passing yards for Caleb Williams. But going into the rest of the team, offensive line played great last week, did not give up a single sack, and I don't even think a single pressure, to be honest, at least from the offensive tackles, from Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones. However, we are out Darnell Wright, which really sucks because now either Ozzie Trapillo or Theo Benedict is going to have to go up against Max Crosby. Yikes. That's what a first game you're going to be thrown into. Either player is going to be thrown right into the ring and have to face Max Crosby, at least top 7 defensive end in football, top 5, honestly. Yikes. Freaking yikes. Lord help him. I mean, we're going to need tight end chips. We're going to need running back chips. I'm hoping Jonah Jackson helps out on the exterior, push him back inside, and maybe the guards can sort of help out there. But, yeah, it's not going to be a pretty day for our right tackle, whoever is there, whether that's Trapillo or Benedict. But Caleb Williams has been playing pretty solid. Like I said, he's second in the league in passing touchdowns, 11th in passing yards. So I expect sort of the same thing to continue here. Ben Johnson seems to have found new rhythm and new life with Caleb Williams and his offense, so I'm hoping that continues. Rome Odunze, man, breakout sophomore season, already playing like the best receiver out of his draft class, playing better, honestly, than Malik Neighbors, playing better than Marvin Harrison Jr., who would have thought, and Brian Thomas Jr., who's having a major sophomore slump right now. I mean, just playing absolutely out of his mind. 4 touchdowns already. I think like 200-something receiving yards through 3 games, which is absolutely insane. I think he's on pace for like 20-something touchdowns. Not going to happen, but it's crazy that we're talking about 20-something touchdowns for a wide receiver at this point in the season. But going on to DJ Moore, not as effective as I thought he'd be, but he's still a great wide receiver. One on a lot of teams. We're using him as a wide receiver too, unfortunately. But, when Roma Dunze is doing that good, can't really blame Ben Johnson. Colston Loveland may or may not play this game, not too sure. Cole Kmet had a touchdown last week. I think he'll be involved a little bit this week. DeAndre Swift. I expected more. I expected more out of DeAndre Swift, and I know we went against the Vikings and the Lions, and they have pretty good defenses, but Swift, man, dude, we need a running back, and my fear here is that we could honestly very easily lose this game if they're able to stop our run game completely, because they've been pretty good against the run this season, and then we can't stop Ashton Genty. If those two things happen, we could very well lose this game, regardless of roster or whatever. We could lose this game. So I really hope DeAndre Swift. I'm not saying he has to rush for 100 yards or average 5 yards a carry. He just got to do somewhat decent. How about 4 yards a carry? How about 60 rushing yards? How about like not make Caleb have to rush for 50 yards a game to have a run game? Like, how about that? Just be average, I guess. Nothing crazy. Hopefully, I don't know. But moving on to the Bears injury report here. We're going to start off with the Las Vegas Raiders here. I'm going to have it up on the screen, but I have it off to my second monitor over here. Brock Bowers did practice full in every practice this week, so we're going to have to go against Brock Bowers, which sucks, but, you got to play good players, so whatever. Jeremy Chin, full practice. He's not really that great, to be honest, so I'm not really too worried. Michael Meyers, their second-round tight end from 2023. He's out with a concussion, and that's pretty much their only player out. I'm jealous of the freaking Las Vegas Raiders on that end. They also have Decamarion Richardson with a hamstring issue. Practice full on Friday, so I think he'll play. Now for the Chicago Bears, this is where it hurts. TJ Edwards, Kyler Gordon, Grady Jarrett, and Darnell Wright are all either out or most likely not going to play. There's a report by Brad Biggs that said that Kyler Gordon, even though he did have a limited practice on Friday, he's most likely not going to play. And to be honest, I don't necessarily disagree with that. With Kyler Gordon, you don't want to rush him back in. We saw that happen with Jalen Johnson, and look what happened. Now he's out for the season, which absolutely sucks. But with Kyler Gordon, playing a limited practice on Friday is a good sign that he's getting healthier and he's coming back, and he should be back for our Week 6 game against the Commanders. However, I don't think this game, like, as much as you want all your players in, and obviously you want to go 2-2 instead of 1-3, I think it's just better to have him rest up until the bye week, get him the extra 2 weeks of rest before having to go against a team like the Commanders on Monday Night Football in Week 6. So I hope that Kyler Gordon's healthy by then, but I don't expect him to play this game. So that's 4 players, the 3 players on defense out, and then Darnell Wright, which is the one I talked about earlier, he's out as well with an elbow issue. And that's where I am really worried about for the Bears, because Max Crosby is going to have a field day with whoever's at right tackle, and I'm very scared for whoever that unfortunate soul might be, having to go against a talent like Max Crosby. Going on to more questionable guys, Colston Loveland. He did have a limited practice Friday. I'm hearing that he is probably going to play. I don't know if he's most likely or very likely or whatever. I think he might play. If not, Cole Kmet's very serviceable, so I'm not too worried there. Then you got Jalen Jones, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift is going to play. I think he's expected to play. And DeMario Jackson, our, I believe, 4-string linebacker, if you will, all should be available for game day. So, obviously, you got 3 players on defense that are out. TJ Edwards, Kyler Gordon, and Grady Jarrett. That hurts. That hurts a lot, especially when you're going against Ashton Genty, a player that could break out at any given moment. And even though their run game has been sort of atrocious with blocking, at least in that department, it still worries me that this could be the game that he breaks out. Sort of how the Cowboys, it was the game that Caleb Williams broke out. This could also be like this for us. Now, I wouldn't say I'm overly worried, because you're not talking about players like, Joe Tooney being out or our center being out. You're not talking about Caleb Williams or Roma Dunze being out, but they are still very much valued members of our defense. And thank God we're not going against like the Ravens or something, crazy to where we need every single player healthy. But it is worth pointing out because the Raiders could still beat us. This is not a pushover team. We need to understand that they could very well beat us. Now, in terms of the final score prediction for the Chicago Bears, this can go either way. It really can. You could honestly coin flip this, and even the sportsbook thinks so. I think we're 1.5 point favorites to win this game, so even the sportsbooks can't really decide. They're basically saying it's a coin flip. And I will say the one good thing about us playing in Vegas is the Raiders, they don't really have that great of a fan base when it comes to filling out their home stadium. The Chicago Bears love to travel, and I expect a lot of Bears fans to be in Las Vegas for that game. So, in terms of the Bears winning this game, I do in fact have the Bears beating the Las Vegas Raiders with a final score of 28-20. 28-20, the Chicago Bears go ahead and drop 4 TDs on their heads. I think that at first it's going to be a little bit low scoring, but what I've been seeing from Geno Smith is that he just been crumbling in a lot of these games, and I think that's going to be a runaway train effect. And then he'll probably have some like garbage time touchdowns here and there to bring it more closer and make it look a lot more respectable than it actually was. I'm not really scared of this Raiders team, and even though I am scared of Ashton Genty, he just simply hasn't proven yet to be that star running back, and that offensive line hasn't proven to really give him that supporting cast or at least opportunities to be that star running back that he was at Boise State. So even though our defensive line is not great, I still think they're just good enough to do good against their defensive line. Their offensive line, and keep Ashton Genty at bay. And if you do that, you get to Geno Smith, game over. So that's what I think. 28-20. The Bears win, go 2-2. Let me know what you guys think, man. Do you agree or disagree? Give me some score predictions down below. I am going to try to remain consistent with these videos. I'm going to make sure I do that, even though I'll probably miss the post-game video. Who knows? But either way, bear down, I'm out.